So here with North Texas head coach Seth Littrell. Coach, thanks for joining us here on our podcast. I wanted to start kind of back in your childhood. You grew up in Muskogee, Oklahoma. When you were growing up, when you were in high school, what's the most trouble you can get into in Muskogee, Oklahoma?
Not much. It's all most of the time. It's all family and friends down there. It's a pretty tight knit community, and so I grew up in a town. I was fortunate. Everybody kind of took care of everybody. I had a lot of mom and dads. Obviously, my parents were unbelievable and great support, and did a great job. We had a big family down there. But to be honest with you, we kind of lived in a neighborhood where everybody kind of took care of everybody. We're always over at each other's houses and running around, and all the parents, had tight relationships with everybody, and so. I was raised by quite a few parents, to be honest with you. It was pretty cool area to grow up in.
Now, speaking of your dad played fullback at Oklahoma, won a couple national championships there with the Sooners. When I hear fullback in the 70s, I think tough, strong guy. So how strict was the upbringing there for you?
It was obviously they laid a great foundation. Not only my parents, but my grandparents, growing up there. And obviously, they had high standards, but at the same time, they parented very well. Obviously, there was rights and wrongs, and if you cross that boundary, we're always going to have a talk and sit down. But for the most part, again, I was very fortunate to have a great family that we had great Christian values growing up, and we had high standards for our family. But at the same time, it was awesome. My grandparents lived right down the road. My cousins lived right down the road. And again, we were a very tight knit family growing up. And so it was an awesome area to be around.
Did they have to do much recruiting to get you to Oklahoma, or was that kind of a birthright situation?
Yeah, I was, since I was, young growing up, all I ever really heard about was my dad and Oklahoma football. It was huge around our community. And so I knew, from an early age, I wanted to be just like him. I idoled my dad. Like I said, he was a great mentor for me. I had really looked up to him, and I knew if I got the opportunity, and God blessed me with that opportunity, that's kind of what I wanted to do, following his footsteps, and hopefully one day, play for a national championship.
And then before we get to college, in high school, you won a couple state wrestling titles. Kind of where did the love for wrestling come from? Kind of when did you kind of know that was something you excelled at? How did that all come about?
Well, growing up, I started when I was 5 years old. All of my cousins, myself, we had a great youth program. Our high school wrestling coach, kind of ran the youth program there as well. And he was a great coach, great in the community, Coach Jefferson. And so by the time we were 5 years old, me and my cousins, we'd go out and we'd wrestle. And I'll be honest with you, for the first couple of years, I was not good at all. I don't even know if I won a match in 2 years. And so, but just sticking with it. And, all of us would sit, and we always had Sunday dinners at my grandma's house. All the cousins, we'd go out and run around, but we were wrestling half the time as well. And so you got good in a hurry, you're going to get whipped every single weekend. So, it was a great experience for me. It taught me a lot of great life lessons. Not only, how to be independent on your own when you go out on that wrestling mat. It's you and another person. And so it's kind of all on you, but, it taught you mental toughness but a lot of things, even with football, great balance, your leverage. And so it really helped me excel later on in my future when it came to football.
Did y'all ever accidentally break grandma's, coffee
we
table?
We broke a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, we broke a lot of stuff. There were many times, those little pogo balls where you slap the ball kind of off the end of the paddle. That's where my mom and my aunts and everybody, once we started breaking stuff, they would that ball would come off that paddle, and that was their way of saying we're gonna calm down a little bit.
When you get to Oklahoma, you eventually are on that 2000 national championship team. You're a captain for that team. What was that experience like, and maybe what are some of your favorite memories from that, just being around that group of guys?
Well, I'll tell you what, I had a lot of great memories. Just growing up around that program and having the opportunity to go and play there, and getting recruited by John Blake, who was a great man. Still had a great relationship up until he passed here a couple of years ago. But then when him recruiting us, and then all the coaches I had, pre-Stoops, and then Coach Stoops getting there in 1999 and bringing that staff in and building relationships with that crew. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot of great lessons. Obviously, all those guys knew I wanted to coach, so they were all awesome about letting me come around the offices and sitting in and watching film with them. And and one of my best friends, Josh Heupel, he was the quarterback on that team. Obviously, run up for the Heisman, and but I can just remember on our way to two-a-days, on our way to practice, just the conversations that we would have one day when we get an opportunity to coach football, because it was a dream of both of ours. And so, it was around an awesome crew. We had a lot of great leadership, especially on that national championship team. I think the greatest memories, obviously the national championship, the Big 12 championships, but really, some of the things that you remember the most are just in the locker room, hanging around the guys. We had a great, cool group of guys that, all believed in the same, things and pulled the rope in the same direction, and still have a lot of those great relationships today. We're all on a bunch of group texts, and when we get the opportunity to get back and see each other, it's always an awesome time to be around each other and get back on some of the old memories. But even some of the group text stuff is a lot of fun, just hearing from those guys and being able to see, following everybody. It's really cool. So I think it's a great bond that we all have. Obviously, we had a great experience when we were there, but at the same time, just the friendships that you've kind of gained over the years, and those are friends for life. They always will be.
Locker rooms can get a little heated sometimes. There can be some masculine testosterone going on. Did anybody ever try you with your wrestling background, or did they know?
We had a lot of fun in that locker room. Now we had some actually really good wrestlers. Kelly Gregg was an unbelievable wrestler out of high school. I think he was a 3 or 4 time state champion, and a lot more. But one of my favorite memories is we would be wrestling in the locker room, and me and Chris Hammonds called him Hambone. It was one of our tight ends, and we would go at it, and neither one of us would. And more so than wrestling, we were kind of doing some jujitsu type stuff before we even know what jujitsu was back then, and putting each other in locks and different things. And I'll never forget, we got in trouble by Coach Hayes and Coach Stoops one time because we were in the locker room and neither one of us tapped. And I think one of us ended up, it wasn't me. He ended up, and not because he's one of the toughest guys on the team, but I think he wouldn't tap, and I think I held it maybe a little bit too long, and so I think he ended up tearing a meniscus. Didn't keep him out. He was a tough dude that ended up playing on it, but it was we got some hot water for that one, that's for sure.
Every wrestler I know has either one extreme opinion or the other on professional wrestling, on like WWE. Where do you fall on that kind of wrestling compared to like wrestling? Do you find it entertaining? Do you find it annoying? Kind of where are you at with that?
No, I'll tell you what. Growing up, I watched it a ton. Growing up, and even through college, all of my roommates, we would do the Monday Night Raws and kind of watch those. We even went to a couple events and had a lot of fun with it. Obviously, I haven't watched in a while. Now that MMA's on and all of that, I kind of steer a little bit more towards that way. But we had a coach here a couple of years ago, Graham Harrell, who loved it, who still loves it to this day. It's one of his favorite things, and so. We have a laugh every now and then, but I'm not too big into it anymore. I think it's entertaining. It's fun. Just, with kids and football and everything, don't have as much time as I did back then.
Then after your career, you went and GA'd at Kansas, and then you wound up the running back coach at Texas Tech under Mike Leach. Kind of, do you have a favorite early Mike Leach story of kind of like one of the first times you met him, or maybe when you were interviewing for the job or whatever? Because everybody I know who knows Coach Leach he's a pretty unique cat.
If I sat here and told you all the Mike Leach stories that I know, we'd be sitting on this podcast for a long time. But, unbelievable man. Obviously, he was there in 1999 as our offensive coordinator. Got the opportunity to play for him for one season. And then for him to give me the opportunity to come back, I don't know exactly how old I was. It was in 2004. At that age, being a full-time coach at running backs in the Big 12 was an unbelievable opportunity, and probably not a lot of guys who could have or would have done that for such a young guy. So I owe him a ton. He was awesome guy to work for. Always let you coach your position, and was never just sitting there staring over your shoulder. So he was an unbelievable mentor for me. Still a great friend, and we have a lot of great memories. And to be honest, that entire staff, I thought we had an incredible staff. Guys that we still have all have great relationships with each other. We were a really young staff. Not many guys were married on the staff, so we hung out together. We had a lot of fun times, and It'll be one of those staffs that go down. You'll have a lot of great memories of that group.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say 4 out of the 12 FBS coaches in the state of Texas right now were on Mike Leach's staff between 2002 and 2005, at least at one point. What is it about him that kind of created so many young, smart, intelligent coaches, specifically on the offensive side of the ball? Because there's Sonny Dykes, Dana Holgerson, Dave Aranda was a GA there at one point. So what is it about him that and Hal Mummy as well, like just kind of created this like system that everybody's able to kind of be successful with?
Yeah, you had Lincoln Riley, you had Bill Bedenbow, who's an incredible mind. I think the biggest thing is he believed in the system. He was very confident in what we did. Trusted in the players. The whole thing was to go out there, coach the players up, and let them go out and play fast without thinking. And so we try to keep it as simple as possible. I think it's a true system that it's a lot like the triple option. To be honest with you, we're going to go out and do what we do. We're going to know the answers to it. Our players are going to know the answers to it. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just keeping it simple for the guys, letting them go out and believe in it, and just go make plays. And I think he had a lot of confidence in what we did, and I think that carried down to the coaches and the players. And so we had a lot of fun, man. It's a great system, and he knows how to coach it up.
As a running backs coach, did you ever like, hey, Mike, maybe we can run the ball a little bit more?
Every now and then, but Coach Leach is Coach Leach. He knows exactly what he has in his mind and what it's supposed to look like week in and week out. And so at the end of the day, my whole thing's always been winning football games. And so whatever we have to do to win games, that's all I care about. It's not about one group, one position. It's about the team and all of us pulling the rope in the same direction. So I didn't ever tell Coach Leach too much. I coach my guys up to the best of my abilities and hopefully get them ready for each and every week. And that's exactly what we did.
Your next stop was at Arizona, where you coach Rob Gronkowski, who ended up having a pretty big career and a pretty big personality. What was Gronk like back in those days before he was, mega Gronk?
The same. I don't think he's changed a bit. Neither him or his brother Chris. They were both there. And always great guys. People be very surprised. They were guys that they never made below B's. They were A and B students. Took the classroom very seriously. But they love ball. And so it was never hard in meeting rooms or out on the practice field. They were as hardworking as any group on that team. But that's what they love to do. Now having them in the same meeting would get very interesting at times. They have a lot of fun together, crack a lot of jokes, and we had a great group, a lot of fun memories. But those guys were very intelligent and love ball and passionate about it.
Yeah, you transitioned to Indiana, North Carolina as an offensive coordinator. What's it like to kind of call plays for the first time? And, you had been with Bob Stoops, and like we talked about, you had been with Mike Leach. Kind of where did your philosophy of offensive system kind of come about? And how long does it take to kind of really build an identity as a play caller? Because I'd imagine that first year is a little bit of trial and error.
It was. My first year was at Arizona when Sonny Dykes took the law tech job. Mike Stoops gave me an awesome opportunity to move into the offensive coordinator role. And I'll be honest with you, at an age to where I still had a lot of football to learn and still do to this day. But, I'll tell you what, I remember that first game. It was against Toledo, and it was nerve-wracking. But I'll tell you what, I came into a situation to where the system was already in place. Sonny Dykes had installed it. We were doing a lot of the air raid concepts, but, obviously used a little bit more 2 tight end sets, 1 tight end, 11 personnel, 12 personnel, and ran the ball a little bit more. And so I kind of continued and fed off that, obviously being there for a couple of years before he left and got the opportunity. And so with the system being in place, now it's about, finding the things. Everybody has to be their own guy. You just kind of grow into the position, and then having the opportunity. I've been fortunate. I've worked under some unbelievable offensive coaches, not only head coaches, but even the guys on the staffs that believe in the same things. But going there to and learning under Coach Leach, Coach Dykes, then going to Indiana, where Kevin Wilson's, I think, one of the greatest offensive minds out there. Extremely very solid, and not only knowing offenses but defenses where guys are fits and the reads and all of that he taught me was incredible. And then having a guy like Larry Fedora at North Carolina. So I've been very fortunate to work for some really good offensive coaches that have taught me a lot, kind of molded me and helped me grow into a play caller. And obviously not only is that, but, eventually getting here, being a head coach, you learn a little bit from everybody. You take the things that fit your personality and kind of mold it into who you want to look like as a coach and as a program. And that's I've been fortunate to be around a lot of great people.
Do you consider yourself an air raid guy, or at one point did you consider yourself an air raid guy? And I guess what is the definition of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of the same concepts, but Coach Leach would definitely not call me an air raid guy these days. He'd probably call me a run raid guy.
Yeah, you're running too much. Holgerson said he got kicked out of the club because he ran the ball a little too much.
I think I'm kicked out as well, but no, we laugh about it all the time. But a lot of the same principles, obviously, and I think more so than the plays, it's within the system, trying to keep it simple. I still believe in that philosophy. Let the guys go out and play fast, but you're going to still have a lot of the same concepts that we've done over the years, and that's what we do. That's what we know. But then also you have to fit it to your personality. I believe in fitting your personality, and then also your personnel. Each and every year, you're going to have something a little different. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? Every quarterback's a little bit different, obviously, in the passing game. Different guys like different things. So trying to fit it to their personality as well. And but also staying true to your system, keeping it simple and playing fast. So again, I think the biggest thing is just being you and who you are and who your team is, and going from there.
From North Carolina, you get the head coaching job at North Texas. I believe you were 36, 37 years old when you were hired at North Texas. Like, how ready can you possibly be for that first head coaching job, especially at that age?
Well, it was obviously it was challenging. I was really, really excited. Never dreamed I would have the opportunity, especially at that age, to become a head coach. I'll tell you what, when I got here, it was an exciting time, but I'll never forget the night before that press conference. I think I called Larry back and I was like, "Oh my gosh, can I have my job back?" I don't know. I'm a little nervous, coach, but I had a lot of great people that I could get on the phone with and ask questions, and a lot of great mentors that helped me along the way. But it was a really exciting time, and it's been a blessing. We've loved North Texas, me and my family. Love this community, love this area we live in, kind of back closer to home, being able to see. Again, I told you earlier, we're a very tight family with my sister, and my parents get to come up on the weekends and watch the games, be around my children. My kids get to be around their cousins. And so not only North Texas, they've been unbelievable. Coach or Ren and Neil have done a great job of, leading our program and giving us resources to be successful. But we've had a lot of fun.
If you could go back and talk to yourself in that first year, kind of what are some of the pieces of advice, or maybe what's the biggest difference between Coach Littrell in year one and Coach Littrell in year six?
Oh man, that would be a good question to maybe ask some of my guys who have been with me since day one. But I think the biggest thing is just being yourself. I think no matter what, you have to, whatever you're doing, you have to be you. You can't try to be someone else. I'm never going to be a Bob Stoops. Everybody's going to be different. And so Josh Heupel has to be Josh Heupel. Dana has to be Dana. And I think that's the biggest thing within. I think running any organization is believe in who you are and treat people the right way, with respect. Treat your players the right way, and go to work each and every day and have a passion for it. And that's kind of the way I've ran this program. I believe in family. I run this program as a big family, and I think the biggest thing is still a relationship business. You have to have those relationships. It's still a people business, and treat people with the way that you'd want to be treated, and go after it. And everybody's on the same page, pulling the rope on the same direction. I think you can have success in doing that.
I think if we look at your tenure, when we're talking about North Texas football, we mentioned Seth Littrell, and then I think the next name is probably Mason Fine.
Yeah.
What was how did he end up at North Texas? How did you kind of get him, how did he kind of fly under the radar the way that he did? And how quickly did you know he could be a legit superstar?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was very fortunate to get Mason, and really knew one of his high school head coaches was actually a head coach at Muskogee, where my hometown was. And so just having a great relationship with his head coach, he was sending me film throughout the year and saying, "Hey man, you really need to take a look at this kid." And so just watching his tape. And once I got here, obviously we were kind of switching offensives a little bit. And so just trying to find the right guy that would fit our system, He ran a very similar system to what we did in high school. And then the more you watch this tape and just compared it to other guys that you were recruiting, it was night and day, to be honest with you. No one was really close to his tape. When you sit and watch it game by game and the things that he was doing, the hardest thing to get over is the one thing we always laughed about. I mean, he was not going to have the measurables. He was not going to have the size that maybe you wanted. But just everything else was so much higher that we were going to sacrifice for it. So just having the opportunity to get him down here and be a part of our program, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it would be as quick as it was. I felt like, get him here, get him bigger, stronger, faster, let him learn, hopefully sit a year and hopefully be ready here in the next couple of years to be kind of our future of our program. But since day one, he had a chip on his shoulder. He came in here, he's extremely smart, competitive, very respected by his teammates, the way he worked, the way he went about his business. And just so happened, man, after in the middle of the SMU game, I'll never forget. It was early in the season, maybe game 2. And I asked him, we were kind of sputtering a little bit offensively. And I said, are you ready to go in there and make some plays for us? Or do you want a red shirt? He looked me in the eye and he goes, Coach, I'm not here to red shirt. I want to go out there and play. And so, and the rest is history. Did some really good things as a true freshman, ended up getting hurt. Really the only time in his career where he got hurt and had to miss games was kind of the second half of his freshman year. Got hurt and so kind of finished out that year and then came back and just had an unbelievable sophomore, junior seasons, and obviously the rest is history. But a really great player for this program, and obviously he'll be a guy that'll be remembered around here for a long time.
Now, speaking of another guy that'll be remembered there for a long time, DeAndre Torrey became, y'all led the league in rushing the last 2 years after having such a passing offense with Mason Fine. As a former running back, how much satisfaction do you kind of get from, being one of the best rushing teams in Conference USA and even in the nation last year in 2021?
Well, I believe in having a toughness and having a physicality about it. I think that's a mindset, and that's, again, just going back to kind of some of the things I talked about earlier. You got to be you. I believe in it. And, something that I felt like earlier on, we could have maybe done a little better job of running the football, but we've, like I said, the biggest thing to me is winning football games. And so looking at your strengths, offensively, year in and year out, what you have, and what defenses are giving you. I believe in having balance as an offense. I think you have to, and when I talk about balance, it's not so much 50-50 run pass. It's balance to me is being able to do whatever you have to do to win that game and what the defenses are giving you. If they're heavy on the boxes and they're giving you one-on-one matchups, being able to go out there and compete and make those plays in the passing game. But if they're kind of spread out and kind of our spread stuff and they're not putting enough hats in the box, I do believe you have to run the football. And I think year in and year out, I think that physicality will help you, hopefully in the long run, win championships.
At one point this last year, you guys are 1-6 and really struggling. What was going on behind the scenes that gave you and that team enough confidence and faith in each other to run out that 5-game winning streak to reach bowl eligibility and kind of salvage that year?
Well, first off, you have to give a ton of credit to our coaches and our players. They didn't. They never gave in. And I think that has to go back with those relationships we talked about earlier. I believe in family and how we run this program, being on the same page, pulling the rope in the same direction. These kids fought extremely hard. They never gave in. Just listening to the voice in those rooms. We were all in it together. I think that's a testament to our leadership that we have on this team. But we had a lot of adversity early. There's no doubt in my mind. We had a lot of injuries, especially at our skill positions. I think our top 4 to 5 guys were out by game 3. And so we kind of had to create a new identity of who we were going to be. And that ended up being a little bit more 12 personnel because we were really thin, especially at the receiver position, and we're a little deeper at the running back position, although we got banged up as we went, run the ball, play action, and take our shots. And, our team bought into that. I think just being year one with our defensive staff and our defense in that system, I think, took a little bit of time early on. And then once they kind of got in that and the more comfortable they got throughout the year. Obviously it was going to take a huge effort for our defense in order for us to win games as well.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe on social media, I saw a picture of you riding a mechanical bull on a recruiting trip. I want to know if that was the first time ever on a mechanical bull. You ever been on a real bull, kind of, where those Oklahoma roots had to come out, I would imagine at some point, right?
Well, I'll tell you, we did grow up riding mechanical bulls. I grew up on horses. My mom actually was a barrel racer growing up. And so I was on horses a lot growing up, but I had never ridden a bull. That's the one thing. I had been on a lot of mechanical bulls, and we used to go out there with the old barrel and the ropes. We'd try to throw each other off on those as well. But I'll tell you what, it was always a goal of mine to go out and ride a bull one day. And then once I just sat on top of that bull, I figured, that's not for me. Those are really powerful animals, and it was really cool just getting on top of a bull. But I told him, there's one thing, make no mistake about it. If you pull this gate open, we're going to be fighting afterwards.
I've kind of done the same thing where I had the helmet on and I was ready to go and everything. And then you're right. You feel it. You can just feel that power, and it's different than anything else. Before we let you go, I talked to Coach Cobbs, and he wanted me to ask you how your jump shot's coming along.
I was, like you said, I was a wrestler growing up. So my basketball game's not great. We do have we play a little a game with the staff at lunch. We call it Scotty, but it's a little 3-point around the world game. We go 2-on-2 matchups. And so my 3-pointer is getting a little better. I'm actually able to hit the rim at times to where when I first got in there, it was pretty bad. So we have a lot of fun with it. It's a great workout for us, and it gets pretty competitive. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need to turn it into like a 21 game. That way your physicality, you could just be a 3-and-D guy. That defense, you lock guys up there, I'd imagine.
Oh, when they start running the courts and going full court and really having to play kind of true basketball one-on-one against each other, I'm out. I'm too old for that. I've seen way too many coaches pop ACLs, and the worst fear would be that Achilles tendon. I've seen some guys pull that Achilles tendon or tear it, and I'm too old for that.
Yeah, it may be more dangerous than the bull, to be honest with you.
That's exactly right.
That's right. All right, Coach. Well, we really appreciate the time. Good luck this offseason. I know spring practice coming up and everything like that. We'll be back in touch for magazine stuff, I'd imagine, here in about a month or so.
It's always a pleasure. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Coach.